Still affected enough, that there's an awareness that this is needed, but still, it's not the worst. We needed a country that's fairly safe. And Cameroon's big advantage is they have never had a civil war. They have been peaceful from the day of independence in the 60s. So we feel quite good about that.
And so in this first trip to Cameroon, you met with government officials as well as private individuals?
No, what I actually did is, I tell you how I came about Cameroon. So I was invited in Kenya because I met someone who knew this woman who had the orphanage, right? In Cameroon, it was a little bit different. I had been talking to friends, and everyone who listened to me, like you, that I wanted to go to Africa and produce AIDS drugs. And, people give their opinions. People have connections. People just talk, And one of my former professors from Kansas, I have a master's in chemistry from the University in Lawrence, Kansas. Dr. Gunnar Georg said to me, "Oh, Rolanda, call Carol. She's somewhere over there."
I love it.
That somewhere over there. And back then, I didn't Google everyone before I met them. So I just called this lady, and she picked up the phone. And today I know, she has an MD, PhD, and a lot of titles after her name.
Wow.
I would have gotten quite scared if I had known that. But I just picked up the phone, and she was on the phone, and she said, "What do you need?" And I told her, "Water, electricity, people, some hospitals, the government." She said, "We got this, come." That's why it was Cameroon. So Dr. MacArthur connected me to her counterpart in Bamenda, and that's why it is Bamenda,
Okay.
which is Dr. Achu. Dr. Paul Achu is a medical doctor. He's a pathologist who owns a hospital. And they received me, and he really gave me another 2 months free education. Dr. Achu took me to every village, to every AIDS control center, to everything.
He's an OBGYN or more of a generalist?
He is a pathologist. That was his specialty.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he was really keenly interested in not just germs, but people.
Yeah, people, right. Definitely people. And as a private clinic to be certified as a HIV/AIDS treatment center, that's unusual. I know actually only his hospital of being both, a hospital and HIV/AIDS approved, from the government approved treatment center. So he was genuinely cared about the people, So yeah, he's a wonderful man.
So did you proceed to start to set up a?
The factories. That's happened also a different way. Of course, we didn't know how this all would go about, right? The first thing is really what I learned is
you were following no model. You were just
right. There is no model.
Okay.
There is no model. I mean, you have to really understand there is no drug production in sub-Saharan Africa. Some people don't even want to believe me. Besides Aspen Care in South Africa, and that's a minor issue down there, there is nothing. So, like I did in the US, I walked around Cameroon and talked to everyone. And I told them what I wanted to do. And what I was looking for actually is I wanted to understand what is there in the country, what we can use as a starting point. Do I have to start with putting the bricks on the floor? Do I have to start by just teaching people how to produce drugs? Do I have to convince them that HIV/AIDS is a problem? You have to understand that in 2005, when I came to Cameroon, they did not speak the word HIV/AIDS. They did not dare speak it. It was still such a stigma.
At Dr. Achu's level.
No, Dr. Achu would say it, right? But the people, the villagers,
and you were actually interfacing with the villagers, so that you had an appreciation of how they felt.
And here I come, and Dr. Achu introduces me to these people, saying, "This is Doctor, she wants to help. Her organization is called AIDSfreeAFRICA." It blew their minds. They wouldn't even say the word AIDS. And here comes someone and says, "You're going to be free of HIV/AIDS at some point." Okay.
Is it because they consider it a curse, or they don't understand that it's a germ that
they couldn't do anything? There were no drugs. There was nothing.
Okay.
They couldn't do anything. They knew that when you get tested and you test positive, you're dead within a very short time.
Okay. So this is.
It was
really
deadly.
Yes,
it was deadly back then. It was absolutely deadly.
Okay, so.
All right. So now I was looking for what is there. What can I, do I find people that are educated? So, and I tell you, some of these stories are just too wild. I went to the market in Bamenda, and I forgot what I was trying to get. Oh, I was trying to take pictures. So I'm at the market trying to take pictures, and I took a picture of a lady who was selling grasshoppers. And of course I had to eat one, and I did eat everything under the sun at least once, just to make sure. And I take a picture of her in the grasshopper, and another gentleman in the background thought I had taken his picture. So he grabbed my camera. He was quite upset. And I said, I did not take your picture. I promise you I can show you in the camera. And he took it, and he said, okay, but I want to buy it. Can you sell me your camera? And I said, yeah, I'm going home in 3 weeks. In 3 weeks you can have it. So we went to his market stall, to his place on the market, to exchange addresses. By then we were all friendly, and everyone was happy. And I approached the stall, and I look up, and what do I see? Drugs, medicine. And I'm kind of like, wow, what are you doing? He was the black market provider of everything that nobody had. But, uncontrolled, unregistered, the whole 9 yards. Okay, fine. But he knew the guys in the country that were trying to build a factory.
Wow.
And he connected me with them. And although these guys were actually officially 8 hours away in Yaoundé, in the other big city, the owner of this place was actually in town. So within 2 hours, we were sitting having lunch in Bamenda, talking drug production. We were so thrilled.
It obviously was meant to be.
Yeah.
But I think I recall seeing on your website that sooner or later, and I'm not sure what the chronology is here, that you moved away from your focus on HIV, AIDS, and antiviral drugs to a broader spectrum of needed.
Yeah.
No, what's the process for that?
The process is really, when I looked at Dr. Achu's hospital, at the beginning, everyone would take me to the hospital to the patients because they thought I'm a medical doctor. And I would always go and say, guys, I'm a chemist. Introduce me to your pharmacist. Introduce me to your pharmacy. Show me. So we would go eventually in the pharmacy, and I would see these shelves, and I would see the drugs. AIDS drugs, Trimune. That's the only basic standard HIV/AIDS treatment, and not much else. And I said, why are these AIDS drugs on the shelf and not in the patient's home and being popped? Why are they here? The diagnostic is not supported financially. The Gateses, the Clintons, PEPFAR, all these big, large international organizations, WHO, they're supporting money-wise the HIV/AIDS drugs. The prices came down enormously. They're cheaper than anything. But they can't afford to be diagnosed.
Hola.
And that's still true to this day. If they have the chance to get diagnosed, then we can treat them because they have malaria, they have TB, they have worms, funguses, yeast, the women. 1 out of 5 women has an untreated yeast infection.
Which is
my Conazole. Yeah, my Conazole. They're begging me to bring in my Conazole. They're begging me to bring in potassium injections to prevent bleeding from women. If you look into maternal health, 1 out of 30 women die in childbirth. That is more than any
and
HIV.
so many of them from malaria.
And so many from the children especially, yeah. But these numbers are all, HIV/AIDS is, in our country, we know it's a bad thing, and it is bad. But I tell you, they die more in malaria, they die more in everything else. They die more in diarrhea and dirty water than HIV/AIDS. So we realized that the AIDS drugs are heavily subsidized. They are in the country. They're not asking for it. The regulations are very tough for AIDS drugs, much more complicated than all the others. So we said, guys, if you don't need that, if you, in order to get rid of HIV/AIDS, need to be treated for TB and malaria and God knows what, we'll produce that. Whatever it's their factory, it's their country, it's them that are going to take the drugs. I'm very fortunate that jumping forward, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be sitting there in Washington, D.C. with a bunch of Cameroonians